Hi everybody, welcome back to the Moose. There's our G major scale using that pattern that we just went over. Now getting back to the board, we can also number that scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Now going back to our triads, our major triads that we already went over, the formula for the major triad was the 1, the 3, plus the 5, okay? Those three notes making up our G chord or whatever chord we wanted to form using that formula. Okay, now the formula for a 7th chord is the 1, the 3, the 5, plus the flatted 7th. Okay, now let me pick this scale out on the banjo. Let me pick the G scale out one more time. It's a G major scale. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So now we have to make our 7th chord. This is going to be a four note chord. We're going to flat the 7th note of this scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, which is F sharp, and we're going to flat it. And how we flat it, to flat a note, we go back 1/2 step. Okay, so we come back, and we get an F note, and that's our flatted 7th note out of that G major scale. And also, that's a G7 scale as well. But for forming our 7th chords, we just want to know what that flatted 7th note is to form our G major, to form our G7th chord. Okay, that's what we're working on, a G7th chord. So again, we started with the G major scale. That's our 7th note. We flat the 7th note, and we get an F note. So that is the note that we have to add to this triad to make up our G7th chord. Okay? Is that flatted 7th. So let's go back down to the 4th position chord. You remember we had our triad. And let's just make the triad on the 4th, the 3rd, and the 2nd. Remember, that's 1, 3, 5. So we have our 1, 3, 5. And now we're going to add our flatted 7th note, which is an F note. And for this position, we're going to use the F note on the 1st string. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to bar the first 2 strings just behind the 3rd fret, and then place our fingers like we did before for the triad. So if we strum those strings now, that's a G7th chord, a 4-note chord. 1, 3, 5, flatted 7th. Okay. As opposed to the major chord in the major scale. 7th. Okay. So that's a four-note chord. 7th chord. Okay. Now let's look at this a little bit further. And since we know that there are 2 D strings on the banjo, one just being an octave apart, we can just flip the fretting on the 4th and 1st strings as well to make another D7th chord. So if we flip the 4th and 1st string, another G7th chord, just invert it. And what I'm doing here is I'm barring the whole 3rd fret, okay, and then putting my middle just behind the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and my pinky behind the 5th fret of the 1st string. Another G 7th chord. Here's the first one. Now we're inverting just these two strings, the 4th and the 1st. Two G7 chord formations with using that 4th string position. I'm running out of time again, everybody. We're going to take this slow because it's important, and we're going to get into the next position, the 2nd string position, using these 4 notes to form some more 7th chords. We'll see you next time on the Moose.